Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Bizzare Adventures number 26 and finishing the Kull the Barbarian storyline that we had done previously. This is the third part, I'm pretty sure, and the third and final part of this Kull the Barbarian, or fourth. This is the fourth part of the Kull the Barbarian storyline. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's a full-size, full-color comic book that I produce every month. And it has various storylines. It's the Death Knight. It's got Cyrene the Cleric, Queller, Cymborgs. It's just has a whole bunch of different storylines. And this month is actually a reprint of Volume 1, because I'm on Volume 2, number 31. And this actually hasn't gone out to my patrons yet, but you can get these at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, or you can message me at alexturbin0441 at Yahoo or alexturbin0441 at Instagram. It's got, like I said, it's 12-page, full-size, full-color comic book, and with backup stories by Paul Courtjohn and Chris Knox and whoever else I can cajole into putting a backup story into that. If any of my viewers out there would like to have a backup page or story or whatever, just let me know. Contact me at probably Instagram is the best place to contact me, but if you have to contact me here, hopefully I see it. I'm not entirely sure that I will. Yeah, 12 pages, full size, full color. Get them at patreon.com. And thank you for all the support. I really, truly appreciate it. So, Bizzare Adventures, Kull the Barbarian. We've gone through 3 different videos of looking at what happened to him. And Kull is a barbarian. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, he's from Atlantis. That's where he's from. He's one of the last people from Atlantis, I believe. I don't know how much of the Robert E. Howard story is in this. I started to listen to it on YouTube, and I think I'll go back to it eventually. I was watching it or listening to it as I was falling asleep, and I just fell asleep. But it's a basic storyline, and I think it's all around based around the story of that Howard did, and also I think that's what the movie is based on, because I remember seeing the movie and being very unpleased with a lot of the stuff about it, but they did have some certain things about it, the serpent people and stuff like that. And I think so the serpent people being defeated back a long time before Atlantis was destroyed and stuff. The serpent people were destroyed, and they came back and they want their revenge on Kull. Not on Kull specifically, but on humanity who has driven them away. So to do a little recap, this is written by Doug Monech, and the artist is John Bolton. And John Bolton, I mean, this is the fourth part of this series, and I can't say enough about him. He's just he's a beautiful artist, and it's just amazingly amazing. There's only so many words I can use to say awesome in regards to this artist, and I like the writing too. I'm quite sure it follows the original storylines, but Kull, he's the leader of Volusia. It's a city-state, and he's taken the throne from an evil tyrant king, but he's getting older in age, and he's kind of losing his wit, his sharpness, his virility, his thirst for life and stuff. And that's really kind of, as an older guy, I understand that. I appreciate that, where you just kind of like you're lulled into submission. And he's got this wolf tiger totem, and he wants to be a barbarian out into the world and conquering and stuff, but he can't. And so he's having these emotional trials or emotional problems that he's having. And this wizard and his daughter, they kind of emotionally take him, and they brainwash him, and they're making him turn on the people of Volusia, and making the people of Volusia turn on him. And their whole point is these are serpent people disguised as humans, and their whole point, or their whole purpose is to come back to Volusia and take the throne and kill all of humanity. So that's basically what they did. They turned Kull and Volusia against each other, and they are preparing for an attack because the Volusian army, they are not prepared because they're in a stupor, because drunken stupor, because Kull has not kept them in shape. The townspeople are up in arms against Kull because he's done some vile things to them, and they're ready to slay him. But he has, with the help of Brule, his best friend, he kills the daughter and the wizard that were enslaving him mentally, and that breaks the spell, and he is no longer under the thrall of the serpent people. But the serpent people are in the ships, and they're headed towards Volusia, and they're there to conquer them. And Kull is his back is up against the wall, and he's in his palace or whatever, and the people of Volusia are there to kill him. So that's basically where we start. And it's this is a cool panel and a cool page, because you've got Kull, who's the main talking point, and the I can't remember what his name is. He's a minstrel that Kull had made some sort of crude jokes in a song about Kull. So Kull had him imprisoned, and he was broken out by the townspeople, and that's where they're there to kill Kull. But Kull is trying to explain to them that his mind was overtaken, that he was enthralled by the wizard and his daughter, and that now he's broken free, and that they no longer have to fear him. And they obviously don't believe him and stuff. But Kull is saying that the serpent people are on their way in the ships, and that they can fight the serpent people first, and then afterwards they can decide what to make of everything that happened. And Ronaldo, he's the minstrel, says that he doesn't believe him, but then one of the townspeople says, no, he's right. There's ships coming, and there's fires, and there's burning. So Kull hops into action. He jumps down off of his castle, whatever, takes one of the steeds from one of the dudes. He just chucks the dude away, which kind of shows the brutality and the strength of Kull, that he can do pretty much whatever he wants. So he and Brule take off, and they're telling them, I think he tells the minstrel and the townspeople that to go to the harbor, and that's where the fighting's going to be. And but he has got to go and get some recruits to help save the town and save the city. So he goes to the bar or tavern or whatever, and sees the soldiers. They're like the best of the best soldiers in the world that Kull has whipped into shape. He's whipped them into the greatest fighting force in the world, but they've gone into lackluster because they've lost faith in their commander and all this stuff. So he smashes in. Awesome scene. I have several panels of breaking a door, and a wooden door, and this is pretty good. I really like it, but there's really kind of small panel. I wish this had been a bigger panel. Really smashing through the door, and kind of really making a huge impact and a huge entrance. So he smashes through the door, and like it would have been cool to have splinters going everywhere, pieces of wood everywhere. And he's just kind of yelling at his army and his militia, and he's like, I'm gonna mess you guys up afterwards, because for you guys to have gone into the stupor or whatever, but until then you're going to come and follow me, and we're going to kill the serpent men, and we're going to take back Volusia, and I'm your king. And he just has this awesome leadership role, which is, it's kind of odd to think of a sword and sorcery character like Kull or Conan being a leader. Conan is often the leader in his group, but it's in Robert E. Howard's stories, it is so about being an individual and being a secular person aside from society, outside of society. He's a barbarian. He doesn't live in society with the common folk and with the politicians and the bankers and all of that stuff. He lives outside of them. But when he does come into some sort of conflict and he needs an army, army, he is more than capable and eager and ready to lead men into battle. So he has that innate ability, which I think is one of the discoveries that Robert E. Howard had, or one of the things that he was trying to work into his stories and kind of explore, is the dualities of different heroic type characters and the different roles that they can have, or whether it's a singular combatant in an arena, or whether, in the barbarian veracity of that, and also the tactician and warlike people that are heroes that can, whip up an army and lead them in a better direction. So he gets all of his people together, and they join the townsfolk. And this is much like Game of Thrones. It's the dead. Only in Game of Thrones, the dead are a little bit more scary because they kill all the dead people, and then they rise up. The dead people rise, and also the humans that are slain also rise up. So it's a little bit more actiony, or not actiony. It's a little more intense. But there's in Sword and Sorcery and Fantasy, there's so many instances of the dead rising. You've got Warcraft, all of that, necromancy and stuff. There's just a huge amount of necromancy going on everywhere in a lot of science fiction and sorcery, sword and sorcery stuff. They head out to the harbor, and the ships have their dead people, and they're going to have to fight through them. So really, basically, the next 4 or 5 pages is just a huge fight scene, and I do not envy John Bolton for doing this, because look at all those people. There's just a massive amounts of people, and doing 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people, it's not easy. But when you get that many people, look at these panels. There's just so many horse. You've got the horse, and you've got Brule, and then you've got like 10 people, and then you got in the background, each one having to have their own distinct appearances, each one having to have their own distinct way they're moving. And this is one of the great things that John Bolton really hasn't shown in this comic book. Yes, he's shown a lot of people together, the villagers or all of that stuff, and which that is probably the greatest thing in this comic book. If I was doing this, yes, it's a shortcut, but you show a few people, and then you have blacked out in the background. You have silhouettes in the background. I feel like he could have used silhouettes. He could have had Brule, the horse, all of these guys, and then had everybody in the background silhouetted out. That is how they do it in movies. If you look at Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and you have in the very beginning scene where it's the battle where the dragon is fighting in the Turkish army, and he's killing all these people. There's so many people that are just silhouetted, and you can't see their faces or their real any kind of distinctness to them. But this is like, look at all the distinctness to. This is just crazy. This is just crazy amount of detail in the characters, and I'm going to try to get a little bit closer. I'm losing a little bit of distinctness from the camera, so you can't really see it that great. But every character, whether dead or alive, it just has so much detail and so much distinctness. This is really where I'm seeing Bernie Wrightson's kind of influence in John Bolton, and there definitely is a Bernie Wrightson influence. I don't know how much earlier Wrightson was doing stuff. Maybe they were doing things at the same time, but this is 1981, and the looseness, and also Frazetta. You're seeing so much influences from Frazetta in this, but he's also throwing his own little style, his own little way of doing things, and that is really fantastic. But this, by far, is the most impressed I've been in this book so far. You see the great characters that he has, the great women characters, the beautiful women, the beautiful ink work and line work and stuff. The faces are so gorgeous. And you have all of that, and that is fantastic. But then when you have this on top of that, it's just mind-bogglingly insane. So like I said, there's a huge fight scene going on, and Kull is just, using his huge war axe, and he's just cutting people down. And he uses his steed and he goes into the ocean or along the ocean. He's just cutting people or the dead or whatever, cutting them through and through. I don't know if I think this means that the wizard and the daughter are the last of the serpent people, and they're using these undead people to attack Volusia. So I think that that kind of, it's good, but I kind of would have liked to have seen an army of serpent people as well. But if there's no army, there's no army. Because I think they were trying to repopulate the world or whatever. I'm not entirely sure how they would do that. The daughter and the father having sex and creating serpent babies. I don't know. You've got a lot of white in the background, which is the sky, with a little bit of clouds here, and but that is perfectly okay. I'm not going to complain about that at all, because all of these figures are just so cram-packed. All of these panels are so cram-packed with characters and figures that to say anything negative about that would just be crazy. So they're working their way through, and they're killing all of the undead, and they pretty much have got all of them. And that's when Kull notices that the water is bubbling and something's coming up, and it's a Kraken. It's a trap. So not only does the wizard have, I guess he didn't kill the wizard, he just killed his daughter. So the wizard uses his magical powers to make a Kraken rise out of the ocean. And once again, it's mind-blowingly amazing how he can go from hundreds of people in, filling the page, filling the panels. Can only imagine the amount of hours that he put into this book. I can only think of how many hours that all of these pages, because we're on page 53. This is like, I don't know. This has got to be like 3 or 4 or 5 years worth of work in this one book. But this is just insane. Beautiful ink work on this Kraken creature. All Krakens are the same. They're all just giant octopuses, squids, and it's really awesome. And so Kull just uses his axe to start smashing stuff up and everything like that. But he realizes that he has to kill the wizard in order to really truly end this, because the wizard could just raise another army of undead. He could just create another Kraken. So he goes after the wizard, and he goes into his home, and this is where he sees the monster that Kull slowly became turned into as he was being converted by the daughter and by their magics and all of this other stuff. This is a Neanderthal Kull, and they just have to fight it out and see who wins. And so is the barbarian Kull or the Neanderthal unthinking Kull going to win? And obviously the thinking, even though he's a barbarian, he's still a modern man, and he still has some sort of semblance of person and not just a creature, not just a monster. And then he was losing, but then his tiger totem, which I'm not entirely sure where this tiger totem came from. Anybody know is there only that one storyline, and does it talk about his background, Kull's? Does it talk about where he gets the tiger totem, how he meets Brule, and all of this stuff? Because I'd really like to know that as well. But he's fighting the Neanderthal with his axe, and he smashes the sword, and he finally kills the Neanderthal, and it goes over the cliff, and he's just had it with the wizard. He throws his axe, slices the wizard's head off with his axe, and comes down, and it's the Serpent Man. And at that, the whole palace or the mirror behind the wall just kind of crumbles, and it's destroyed, and the Kraken just kind of gets smashed up into the water and everything. And basically that is the end. they come together, and they're happy with Kull again. They believe him. They believe all of the magic that had taken his mind and stuff. And so the minstrel says, Rudolzo's high, clear voice heralds the exultant cry. Nay, without a king such as you, I'd have no inspiration for my song. So long live the king. So they've chosen their king, and it's Kull. And even though he had moments of lapses where he was taking control over whatever, they still love him. And he's one of Volusia's forever, and he's their forever king, and they're happy for it to be. And that is basically how it ends. So, taking the pledge, subscribe to Savage Sword of Conan. I am definitely going to look at some Conan stuff at some point. So, again, the finality of Bizzare Adventures number 26 and Kull the Barbarian. Let me know how much you guys love Kull or not love Kull, and what you thought of the book and all, and who has it and everything like that. I'd love to hear it. And I'm going to give this a final rating of a 10. I don't know how many things I've rated 10 before. So far, I don't think anything I've rated a 10, and I've had some sort of issues as to why. But this is just, the art is just the pinnacle of what a comic book can be. And the writing is it's fantastic. Follows a fantastic storyline. Yes, it's formulated. It's a specific sword sorcery type of thing going on here, but I don't care. I love it. I think it's beautiful and wonderful, and it makes me happy to see it every time I open this book and look how raggedy it is. There's a piece of tape over the cover just to keep it intact. That's how many times I've read it, and that's how much I love it. And I mean, just look at the art. The art is just so beautiful. And I could just go on and on and on about John Bolton and how wonderful his art is. And we're going to be looking at more John Bolton art in the future. He's done a whole slew of things that I really adore. And yeah, so we're going to be looking at his stuff. So I'm going to give it a 10. Let me know what you guys would think of that score, and if you would give it something lower, maybe because the writing is so formulated, or because it's black and white and not color. Does that lower its score for you? So let me know what your thoughts on that. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. This is the kind of stuff that I look at. I look at indie comics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, really from any time, and just anything. If it's Marvel and DC, if it's something unusual or different, I'm going to delve into it and kind of take it apart and see if I can find something that I love about it and maybe something I don't love about it. But we're going to talk about that either way. So please hit the subscription button and the notification bell and all of that stuff. But even more than that, I love talking about this kind of stuff. I love talking about comic books. Leave me a comment on whether or not you like Kull or Conan or Sword and Sorcery, or whether you'd like to see more superhero stuff or whatever. I just love to talk about this kind of stuff. So thanks for watching, and the weekend's coming up. Hopefully we'll have a stream with Joe, but I'm not entirely sure. You never know with the weekends, what the weekend will bring. And but then we'll be back next week with another artist poll. And we're going to start doing some big guys, the Jim Lees and the McFarlanes and John Burns and that kind of stuff. So we're really going to start cranking on the big guns. And thanks for watching, and hope you guys have a great weekend. And as always, keep on creating.